first thing I look for is whether there's anything interesting in the first sentence. You can see that in words that are not jargon, that are not bureaucratic.
I do think as an editor you have to be a reader first. So I read it as though I'm coming into it fresh. I know nothing about the subject. Does it make sense? Is it clear?
I've also encouraged writers, mostly newspaper writers, to read poetry in addition to the other things they read, news accounts, novels, nonfiction, etc. Here's why. The poet has to make every single word count. The poet has thought about every word. The poet has thought about every syllable. There's no room in a poem, in a good poem, for extraneous ideas, extraneous words, extraneous anything. If you want a lesson in making every single word count, read poetry.
I think it's connection with the reader. Does it give them the details they want, they need? Okay. Does it tell it to them in a way that they're going to be interested enough to read it till the end?
After I've read a story and I've decided what I'm taking away from it, I love to ask writers questions such as, what's not in there that you care about? Or what did you find most interesting about this whole situation? If you had more time, what else would you put in it? Why did you pick this thing? Why did you pick this fact or this this set of adjectives or this set of adverbs? Why did you pick those? What's in your head? And I find that both very helpful and very interesting, because how people think and how they arrive at their conclusions and their decisions is really an interesting thing.
I would say the biggest problem is no nut graph, which is just like a piece of the story that sums up everything that you're talking about as succinctly as possible. And if you have that high up, then you can sort of build the story from there. And I also think that sometimes writers forget that somebody who's reading the story doesn't know everything about it that they know. So they will leave out details that are maybe important to telling a story that may previously have been reported, but it's not always the case that somebody has read their previous stuff. So
here's another technique that I have found really helpful through the years, and I've been editing for more than 30 years in some form or fashion. After I read a story, and all kinds of people, reporters, people who are writing in the community, for publication in the newspaper, other folks, I edited a little poetry journal for a couple of years. It's always kind of interesting to use this technique if the piece that you're looking at is not as concise as it needs to be, or not as clear as it needs to be, to say, this would be a lot stronger if it were 50% shorter. And you don't say that if it's not true, but here's how it helps. One, it sends the writer back, or the editor, we all need editors too, it sends the writer back to decide what's most important.